We heard Varsha in Washington pointing to a reality that is often cited, which is that the Palestinian issue, the fact that there is no peace process, that there is no peace deal, is always going to be a major barrier to those ties really changing. Your thoughts?
There's a growing frustration and disappointment of the conduct of the Palestinian leadership. There's no doubt about it. Having said that, the relations between Riyadh and Jerusalem are perceived by many elements in the Arab world, especially in Saudi Arabia, as a betrayal of the Palestinian struggle. Therefore, the Saudi government, the Saudi royal family, demand Israel to provide her something to present to the Arab world. Now, the big question is what? Is it freezing the building in the occupied territories? Is it lifting the blockade? We don't know yet. Another thing that we must keep in mind, in the past, the Saudis used to say that a normalization with Israel would come only after a comprehensive deal with, between the Palestinians and Israel. Not anymore. Now we are talking about some kind of a breakthrough in the Palestinian-Israeli negotiation. So actually the Saudis are waiting for some, I don't know, some changes in the Israeli
the
policy
bar has been lowered. The bar for the standard of what is progress has been lowered. But still, the Palestinian issue cannot be pushed to one side.
Yeah. Giorgio, I know from your position there in Doha how complex the politics are of the Gulf. And here we are talking about Iran, concern of Iran as a driving force, pushing Israel and the Gulf states together. But Prime Minister Netanyahu's first public visit was to Oman, a country that enjoys security cooperation with Iran. So explain to us why, what other factors could be driving nations such as Oman to an open embrace with Israel?
You ask a very important question. I think we should keep in mind that the 6 Arab Gulf states have different national interests, different perceptions of Iran, different perceptions of Palestinian groups, and certainly different perceptions of the state of Israel. In the case of Oman, you correctly point out that Muscat and Tehran enjoy very cordial relations. So therefore, Oman's interest in hosting the Israeli prime minister, in my opinion, had nothing to do with any sort of Omani interest in kind of joining some anti-Iranian alliance that includes Israel. Keep in mind, the president of Palestine visited Oman earlier. So I think what we see is the Sultanate continuing to conduct a foreign policy whereby it serves as sort of a bridge between different actors in the region who would have a more difficult time negotiating together. Of course, remember, Oman played the key role in helping the American and Iranian diplomats begin negotiations, which led to the nuclear accord that Israel opposed so much. I would add one more point. Officials in Oman have had concerns about the Trump administration's attitudes toward Oman based upon the fact that Oman and Iran have pretty cordial relations. So I think this was part of a strategy on the part of Muscat to show the Trump administration that Oman can play a very productive role in terms of helping Washington achieve its goals in the region, and no doubt getting America's Arab allies in Israel closer to better relations in the future is a very important goal of the Trump administration, as it was of his predecessors, too.